Thank you for this kind introduction. Most of me know me by Casper, so please, if you ask a question, use that name. The last name is a little bit complicated. I'm Dutch as original. I'm 25 years in the PET industry, so I want to talk about this circular economy. I've chosen the PET many years, so I'm already working 20 years on the PET. And I think it's maybe time to highlight some of the positiveness in this let's say, circular economy part of the presentation. So actually I represent today the PRE, which is Plastic Recyclers Europe. And we are promoting the plastic recyclers. We are also creating this sustainability in the business, which was always, we haven't talked about money today, but I think this is the key issue, that if we can make money in this industry, we can grow. That's what they ask from us, so we have to work for that. We are developing all kinds of projects, and we promote also the use of the plastics. And the most important thing, which has also been used in the previous discussions, is that we're offering a platform. I think it's key, if you want to manage the circular economy, you have to have platforms. You have to challenge your people in the value chain to communicate with each other, to try to optimize, because alone you're never going to make it. You have to work together. So for that, I may be Mr. PET, but in the PRE, we have Mr. PVC, we have Mr. Low Density, High Density Polyethylene. So we have all kinds of those misters which are trying to manage the value chain of all those polymers. And this is the key issue. The better you do that and the more platforms you create, the more successful you can be. So my presentation was targeted to be very general, but I will focus now a little bit more on PET to make it more simple for later on to ask questions. So to come down for the breakdown, which the huge revolution which the circular economy will bring. I mean, what Michael showed, that the little ring was there for the recycling is becoming a booming ring. I mean, we are talking about 60 million consumption each year in Europe, which predominantly is plastics, packaging. And then the waste is 26 million. Out of 26 million, again, rough 60% is the packaging. So we are focusing really on this as higher leverage in the whole plastic chain. And unfortunately, only 26% is what we mechanically recycle. So there's a big room for improvement. And if we look to the circular economy, and we have no money for the Commission, but my job and the PRE is also based in Brussels, so we have very good contact with it. And we know that from the Plastic Packaging Weight Directive, we have 22.5% target for doing the mechanical recycling. And there have been talks to increase that to 55 and maybe higher. There's still the discussion about, let's say, if we want to do this for the input-based, what's collected or what's the output of the recycler. That's something which needs to be seen. But we now talk about volumes to put it in this perspective of the 26 million. Where let's say 60 million is roughly the plastic waste. Today we recycle roughly 4 million out of that. And if we want to grow to 55 or 60, whatever the number will be, we have to at least triple, so 12 million tons or 50 million tons, whatever you want to. Look at those numbers, they are huge. It's an enormous package. Only for PET, to give you that numbers, to put it in perspective, we already do 1.5 million tons today in Europe. This is already 50% of the collection in Europe of the PET consumptions for the bottles only. And therefore, if we want to grow, let's say triple, it's a revolution. So what has been said in previous discussions is that changes take time. Yes, they will take time. But the targets are set for 2025 and 2020. So we better hurry up. So don't delay. And start talking to each other. I think that's the message I would like to bring across today. So this is maybe the thing we don't like to see ourselves as recyclers, as a seller's market. Like, okay, recycling was a little bit of a bad image, but I'm on a food congress. I'm selling myself more than 10 years already food-grade material, and we don't do it this way. But we have to work on our image, and that's what we try to do. It's also that this kind of pictures are shown. This is not quality recycle. You cannot go into food packaging if you have sources in collection like that. There are still countries in Europe where they collect things like that, and we have to sort it out. That's never going to work. So if we really get to the higher levels of, let's say, 50, 60 of recycling. Therefore, we need to collect at least 75%. We cannot come up and throw everything together and try to think we can make quality plastics out of that. So this is what we don't like to see either. This is 800 containers a day for exporting because China will work it out. That's also not something we'd like to see. It's something that has been going on in the last years. We have been working on trying to eliminate the export, which was not, it's an open market. You cannot just close the market and say you cannot export it. Same as landfilling. We are working on the landfill directive, and the opportunities of getting the cheapest solution, which we all want to work from the money point of view, is going to be limited more and more to try to get better to the more circular economy point of thing. So let's now try to look at the positive things, how we can Europe enhance the plastic recycling in general. I think what has been said also by Michael in the beginning is that we have to improve the recyclability and the guidelines. I mean, to make it more specific, we have been, I use a lot of abbreviations, and there are sometimes tongue breakers. EPBP is something, okay, you have heard it once, it's difficult to repeat, but if you go on the website, you will quickly find it. It is an effort of the industry where we are assessing design for recycling for PET bottles. And we're working already 10 years to try to say any new innovation needs to be screened, and we need to assure that it's not disturbing the recycling in which we want to do in closing the loop. So we also have to work on the standardization and the harmonization of the collected in separate sorting. I mean, look at Europe, it's a little bit of a mess. Every country thinks they have the best system. To top maybe the things which was discussed before, UK have more than 156 different collection systems. Every community has their own different way of, you can collect it in this bin there, but you cannot collect it there. So this is never going to bring up to standards. And this is where we have to really learn where there are the good things and the best practices. So we really have to try to standardize that the consumer is every moving in his own country, he has to change his ability of trying to fill the recycling system. As I said, we have to ban the cheaper parts solutions, like banning the landfill. There are still a lot of waste exported and also transported within Europe to countries where it is cheap, and we have to try to avoid that. They are closing down a lot of those landfills, so I hope, but it is taking time a lot. But all the things are getting better into the picture to improve on the circular economy structure. Also, the targets to use the recycled material is something we have to put higher targets there. And if once we have the targets there, it's quickly done that the industry have to follow if there's an obligation or if there is a commercial interest. Because this is the other point. If we can create a pull mechanism for the plastics recyclates to be used, then definitely the people will jump on the train and come to there and work on this. And again, plastic packaging is on the development, so we need to also put a lot of innovations into the recycling system to handle all those new innovations. So education is the key. We have 500 million. We have only a few sorting times to try to focus that quality to the recyclers, and there are roughly 1,000 recyclers, and they are growing year by year. Now I'm going to show you a difficult. Oh, sorry, this is one too far. This is a slide where normally the stream is going. If we start with the, if we start with the packaging here, and then it's going to the consumers getting waste, and then we collect it. And then we sort it out and we bring it to the recycling, and then it comes back. Then we can make a circle out of that. But if we really want to manage this, we really have to, let's say, structure the plastic flow. So what we need to do is that we have to work on harmonized designs. This we do with EPBP. We try to limit the options. And we also have to standard the quality recyclates, because if you have a harmonized input, you also can make this standardized recyclates. We have certified plant which are dedicated to treat it. We have an eco-surplus for that already, that we have a good traceability so we can learn from our mistakes. We have sorting standards. We have to work on that. We are already doing that. We are now doing, let's say, near infrared is like making a photo and you can scan the material and the color. But we are now working on tracers that we can separate the food from the non-food chain. So we have a better traceability on those, and we evoke the complication of the chemical traceables. And the collection process, best practices in deposit is more easy as multi-material. So I think if we learn how to control those cycles, we can better optimize it. So I don't want to show too much on this slide. The circular economy was just mentioned. There are millions of cars we can eliminate if we do all our job. So I think we can only do that together. And let's try to do that as an industry and not wait for the legislator to push, let's say, the parts on that for us to really work on that. Because as an industry, we can, let's say, find more easily by communication and working together the cheaper solution than if the legislator is going to push us into the direction where we all have to pay for it. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Casper.